Hey, this is Michael Anthony, and you're watching the Videobob Show. Watch it.
Well, I was getting the 1967 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow ready for sale, just detailing it, getting it ready. Had it running, had the air conditioning cold, and then all of a sudden water started coming out of the bottom. Now, I just replaced this steam valve here on the header tank, and I guess it built up pressure and the water pump gave out. I believe it's the original water pump, probably, because I've got a lot of service records on this car and I haven't seen anything about a water pump. So I'm ordering one from the UK for them to send in to me. These things happen. There's growing pains sometimes with the cars, and well, the car's from 1967. So anyway, I had my master mechanic Mike come over, because that dude he's my own car wizard here in Las Vegas. He can do things just quicker than I can. So he came over this morning. Before I even popped my head up off the pillow, this dude had this thing pulled, and it's already sitting over here. I can see it. He said it wasn't that hard to do, actually. So let's take a look at it for the first time. Ah, here it is. He said it wasn't too difficult to do. So we've got a big O-ring gasket here, and yep. See this rust? Looks like it may have been happening for a while. This is obviously the position it sits. Been coming out of the weep hole and rusting. So I'm gonna order another one of these. I wonder if I could, how hard it is to rebuild it. I don't even know if I want to go down that road, pulling this impeller off. You know, if I had my sandblast cabinet here, I could pull this apart, sandblast it, replace the internal seal that goes there, because it looks like it spins really well. But, and this gasket doesn't look terrible. It's just a large O-ring, honestly. That might not be too difficult to get and do. And then you just have the fan. This is a, there's your pulley. I don't think this is a clutch fan. It's a direct drive. You look at that. Pretty simplistic, not much to it. A direct drive fan, pulley. It looks like it was actually a pretty simple job. I was thinking to myself, you know, looking at this thing, and I'm like, oh my God, gonna have to take off the grill, remove the bonnet, take off the radiator. No, it wasn't that hard. He just could get his little hands up in there, pull that off, and wasn't too difficult. Yes, he's gonna return, and we're gonna finish working on this. It's just been on the back burner. We haven't done anything with the 73 Corniche. There's some hoses that come off of this reservoir that run to a little distribution block that are just simply leaking. We're just going to replace those. I've replaced all of these 3 little mesh filters here. This is going to be cleaned. We're going to flush this system out and see if it just simply comes back and starts working. If it doesn't, we're going to go ahead and pull the calipers, and then, you know, we'll work our way through the system. But in the meantime, probably just needs to keep, you know, the biggest problem with these cars is just keeping the fluid in them. If you could just keep the oil, the hydraulic fluid, the brake fluid, the power steering fluid, the transmission fluid, the air conditioning juice, you could just keep the fluids in the car. They will be fine. I think this water pump's a couple $100. I will see what my options are. I'll probably just order another one from Flying Spares or Intro Car, whoever has one handy. But actually, you know, it spins pretty well. So, I mean, obviously, we've just got a failure of whatever seal goes there. And I don't have a press here, and I don't have my sandblasting cabinet. I don't really have a way to restore this. So for the $200 or whatever it is, I'll just buy another one and get it over with. So that's an update on this thing. So the car will come with a new water pump and a clean radiator flush. Look at that. So I know that when the fluid was in the car, it was running nice and cool with a nice air conditioning running, and we're going to get it back to that state. But this is what happens. I mean, you're talking about cars that are 40, 50, 60 years old, but they're simple to replace. I would rather do a bolt turning operation than try to work on an EV electric car that you're trying to do with a computer or whatever. And I mean, at least when you're dealing with an old car like this, the problems and the fixes are obvious. Water's coming out of the water pump. You needed a water pump. There's no diagnosis needed. The problems are self-evident. Look for where the juice is coming out of. And that's all it is. So, a quick little video about that. We're going to do a photo session with the car and get it up for sale. If anybody wants to buy this project off me as is, before we do any major work to it, I want $25,000 for this car. Running, driving, Corniche, convertible, 1973 with California title, owned by Mark Goodson, the television producer. $25,000 in cash in Vegas, picks up this car and takes it. It'll crank up, drive out of here, and you can load it on a trailer. It just isn't going to have very good brakes. It does have an emergency brake when you go all the way to the floor that will stop the car, but it doesn't have brakes that you could drive with until we fix that fluid problem. Every time we fix something, the price goes up. You know, if I fix everything and repaint the car is going to be like $60,000, $75,000. It's a whole different ball of wax. If you want a project and you want to paint this car, fix the top and all these other things, you could be into a Corniche convertible really cheap for just your labor. So contact me if you want it. Now, if you want a little bit more well-sorted car, the white 67 Silver Shadow, I'm also selling it for $25,000. That's how much money I've spent on the car, restoring it over the last couple of years, messing with it. Of course, in the previous video, we talked about how we redid the interior and everything. That car, once we put the water pump in it, will crank up, run, drive. You can drive it anywhere you want with the air conditioning on. It'll be great. It'll be fine. Just keep in mind, you're dealing with a car from 1967. It's just the caveat of every old car. When you have an old car that's, you know, older than you, stuff's gonna go wrong. But it's not that big a deal. You're talking about like a couple $100 for a water pump, and then I'm gonna give Mike a couple $100. So it's like, you know, if you can afford the luxury of having a vintage Rolls Royce, you can afford to spend the money to fix it. It's just like owning a horse or owning a boat or an RV. Or another good example would be having a swimming pool. I have a swimming pool in the middle of the desert. So every day we have to come out and clean this thing, has to keep the pump running, have to add water to it, to clean it, add chemicals. I spend thousands of dollars a year on the swimming pool, and I get in the thing 2 or 3 times. I haven't even been in the pool once this year. Not once. I'm always too busy. I haven't gotten in the pool one gosh darn time. So that means I probably spend about $1,000, $2,000 per swim. Not worth it. It's totally worth it. Just walking by it and seeing it. That's what it's for. You walk by and go, oh, look, I have a pool. That's what it's for. Is it bougie that I have a iRobot Roomba in my garage? Check the thing out. I haven't used it in here. See if it'll, you know, it's like I could sweep up, but it seems loud compared to my new one. I have a new one that's really quiet. This one has a hammer on it. I don't know how it's going to handle running across nuts and bolts and zip tie clippings and stuff. But, you know, if it keeps the majority of just dust off the floor and crud, like I just swept up, why did it stop there? Why didn't it go all the way to the wall? This epoxy floor needs to be repaired. Like I had it done and then a bunch of these bubbles popped up. I think the bubbles are fixing it off. Why didn't it go all the way to the wall? I guess it wants to do that later. All right, well, we'll let it run around and do its thing. Position this table so that it... Eventually, everybody will be replaced by robots. They can figure out a way to replace everybody with a robot, they will. Okay, robot, have fun.
Hey, quit your lollygagging and subscribe to Videobob. Yeah, subscribe, Videobob. You're gonna love it, I'm telling you.
I almost forgot. This car is missing one more thing. If you know, you know.